Hey Internet, it's Cool Cast Club where we watch shows, read books, and talk about our thoughts and reactions. I'm Caleb.
I'm Lily, and today we are going to be talking about our thoughts on the first season of The Patient. Okay, so the first season, in summary, we're basically following Dr. Strauss and Sam. So Dr. Strauss is a I don't know, clinical psychologist, or he's
Therapist.
he's like a well-renowned therapist, yeah, therapist. And Sam is a serial killer who kidnaps Dr. Strauss and locks him in his basement and forces Dr. Strauss to do therapy on him because he wants to stop killing and control these urges. And so basically the entire series is um, Dr. Strauss locked in Sam's basement and like figuring out, will he get out? Will Sam stop killing? Uh, is this therapy going to work? Yeah. What key things am I missing?
Ooh, I'm trying to think of what happened in the beginning, and I honestly don't really remember.
Okay, well, I guess one of the kind of the a big underlying theme of the show was that Dr. Strauss is Jewish.
Yeah, yeah.
And um so there's kind of a lot of Judaism imagery that was kind of presented throughout the show. Also a lot of there's a lot of flashbacks to Dr. Strauss's past with his family.
Mm-hmm.
He had a wife who was terminally ill with, I think, cancer. Although I don't think we ever actually know what it was that she was ill with.
Right.
And then kind of his struggling relationships with his two adult children. So we do get flashbacks to that and kind of get an idea of like, who he was, as a father, as a husband, outside of him being kidnapped. So that was kind of another part of the show. And then we see a little bit of Sam outside of the home, when he's working, and Sam has an ex-wife, and his mother also knows about his killing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an interesting dynamic that also kind of served as a subplot to the show.
I think most of what we learned from Sam was through his talking, the actual therapy itself. We didn't really see a whole lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
so I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of an interesting dynamic in itself. Like we were the therapist.
kind of, yeah, yeah. Like, because, yeah, a lot of the dialogue scenes between Dr. Strauss and Sam. Well, there was, first of all, just a lot of dialogue scenes
Right.
between Dr. Strauss and Sam. And when it was cinematography y, or cinematically, I guess, it would pan between Dr. Strauss's face and Sam's face. And so when Sam was talking, it was like he was talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, we were the therapist, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so I think that's basically the main gist. And obviously if you watch our reaction videos, you can get more in depth about what was going on in the scenes and our tangents related to all that stuff. So I guess we
Yep.
could just kind of go into what we liked and disliked about the show and the series, and then we can kind of, once we talk about that, we can talk about our um if we have any theories, or kind of like, yeah, I don't know what else. But well, let's just start with our likes and dislikes. How about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll go first for the likes
Okay.
and dislikes.
Yeah.
So, the things that I liked about it were I really like how quickly paced everything happened. Like the episodes weren't super drawn out. Everything kind of um it came and went very quickly. Even though there was a lot of dialogue and
Mm-hmm.
everything, I know that we talked about it before too, how we talked about how there's lulls and then like crazy action. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, even the dialogue was pretty interesting, and it definitely helped to build up the
Mm-hmm.
suspense to the crazy action.
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked pretty well. Um,
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah.
Here, okay. Yeah, I would agree. That the lull of kind of just the dialogue, in opposition to the high intense scenes where it's like, is he gonna murder? What's gonna happen as a result of this crazy intense scenario? They really work well together, even though they're very very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree too about like the speed and the pace of the show. And I gushed about this probably every single time we
Yeah.
watched. I just loved how short they were. They were like 25, I think at most like 37 minutes.
Well, the last episode was like
Um
45 or
the
50, I think.
45 or something. So they did get longer, but still it was fast paced enough.
Hmm.
Like the plot we just jumped right into the first episode, and then everything, yeah, so fast paced. It made it very engaging. I think if every single episode was 45 minutes long, we would have gotten bored.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of how much dialogue there was and how much many of the scenes were literally just Dr. Strauss sitting in the basement, like being locked up in the basement. And
Yep.
so just how short and quick and to the point it was just very I very much enjoyed that.
I
So
was gonna
yeah,
say it's
I
like
would
it's
agree
kind of
with
crazy how interesting they were able to make it with like how little setting change it was, and how like the
yeah.
setting was literally just a basement for almost the entire show.
Mm-hmm. The entire show, but it was so
Hmm.
suspenseful. Um I will say, so I do have, I guess there's kind of on the opposite end something that the downside to there being such short episodes is I think, and we can kind of get into this later when we kind of talk about the end of this series. There's a lot of like details and information that was left out
Yeah.
and like subplots that kind of got picked up in the middle of the show that just never went anywhere because the episodes were so short. There wasn't time to kind of explore all of that. So while it did make it very entertaining and suspenseful, I still feel like there's a lot that could have been explored that didn't, because there just wasn't the time for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna bring up next too for like my main dislike.
Mhm.
Like the thing that
Mhm.
really got me was we had like that entire episode dedicated to where Sam was like, "Oh, this therapy's not working. I'm gonna go get a new therapist."
Mhm.
And then he
Mhm.
went and he got the second therapist, uh,
Yeah.
as was controversial with
His
the
like high
clip.
school
Yeah,
counselor.
the high school counselor, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so like they dedicate the whole episode to like that happening, and then the high school counselor is just never seen again, and I think
Yeah.
that's like a super weird setup for like I feel like it's going towards season two, which
Mhm.
I don't like season two. I don't like the idea of that.
The
Um,
idea of it. Yeah.
well, that was gonna take me into
Go ahead. Oh.
my next thing,
Mhm.
which was
Mhm.
I think like the little like cliffhanger that they had at the end with what's his name, Dr. Strauss's son,
Ezra.
Ezra. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
Ezra.
say Eric.
Mhm.
I'm bad with names. You know how it is.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Close enough. Starts with the E, has the R in it. You know,
Yeah.
we were playing Wordle. That's a 2 out of 4.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't like that the whole like therapy thing, like at the end where Ezra himself is in therapy, like because
Mhm.
like is season two gonna be like him being the patient himself and like unpacking it? Because like that's just gonna be
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. Um no, I totally agree. I do not like the idea of a season 2. And we actually, you and I, we looked at an article and it
Right.
sounded like even the producers don't know yet if there's going to be a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
At least at the time of the article, which I don't even remember when it came out. I think pretty soon, like pretty much right after the season finale. And it seemed like they didn't really know. However, I don't like the idea. I think the story needs to stay in one season. You know, if you haven't seen the finale, I'm gonna spoil it. But Dr. Strauss is killed. The Ezra decides that the only way to prevent him from killing again is to lock himself in the
Sam.
basement. And then Sam locks himself in the basement, and then Ezra and Shoshana, his two adult kids, now have to deal with like the collateral damage of this. And I think like just end it there. Just keep it
Mm-hmm.
there. We realize Dr. Strauss didn't make it out alive. Sam is gonna lock himself in the base. Like, just end it there. I just don't think there's any point to drag this out. And like you said, like, so now is Ezra gonna be the patient, because the show is called The Patient? So is now Ezra gonna be the patient? And then how is this show going to exist without Dr. Strauss? Is it just gonna be a bunch of flashbacks again? I mean, like, it's Steve Carell's incredible acting that really drove the show.
Yeah, for sure. I think too though, like I think if they have a season two, it's not really gonna be focused on Sam anymore either. Like
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah,
seems like
you're
the
right.
direction that they're going is gonna be like focused on Ezra, and
On Ezra, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess one of like the potential ways they could do is he's like trying to seek out revenge and trying to get like talked out of it by a therapist, but like that's just so
Yeah.
lame. Like, that's cringe.
It is really lame and not realistic. I feel like part of the
Yeah.
I don't want to say beauty in the show, but part of like I think something that made it work is because it is somewhat realistic. I mean, not the fact that like a serial killer is like seeking therapy, which I think maybe we should talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but that fact that in the end the serial killer stayed a serial killer and killed Dr. Strauss, like I honestly forgot where my thought was going with
Nah, I
that.
got you. I can pick it up.
Oops.
But I
Okay.
was gonna say like I I liked and disliked that ending. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel I feel like it was kind of a cop out, but I don't know. That's just kind of like my thoughts.
Uh
Like killing
like Ezra being in
like killing
therapy
Dr. Strauss, I
or
mean.
killing. Oh, yeah.
I don't
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. About how sorry, I was about to say how like that's I think more realistic than like if he were to escape, which it would have been a happier ending, but
Yeah, but like you have
I would almost like
like you
yeah.
have the show with like all like the complicated emotions and everything, and you just like choose to like kill him off
Mhm.
in the end. I don't. It just feels like kind of a
Yeah.
cop out, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's it. Kind of brings me into like my next thing too with the like the
Mhm.
processing and everything. I don't know like how realistic it is. Like you said, like with the serial killer like seeking therapy and everything. Like the
Mhm.
actor that played Sam did a really good job of like selling it and everything. Like the performance was
Mhm.
really good,
Oh
like very
yeah.
spot on.
Oh
At
yeah.
least from
He was menacing.
yeah, he was menacing, but at least like from what I think of with serial killers, I don't know. I like I've never
Mhm.
been face to face with a serial killer, as evidenced by the fact that I am here, but
Or that you know
or
of.
that I
I
know
mean,
of.
cuz
Yeah,
maybe you like walked by one in the grocery store or
yeah,
something, you
that's
know.
facts. I could have walked by Jeffrey Dahmer. He was before I was alive, I guess, but
Yeah, I was going to say,
my
well,
parents could have.
but but I yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean like you actually don't know.
He was McMurdering in Ohio.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Ohio is
Hmm.
kind of the serial killer
He
planet
did.
or capital of the world, actually.
Yeah, didn't like didn't what?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy like Ted Bundy no. Ted Bundy. Didn't he have a spree in Ohio
I
too?
don't know. I don't know that much about like serial killers. I'm not that into it like you are.
Okay. Okay, I'm not. I'm into it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
every other
I
person
know.
who
I
listens to
know.
like true crime podcasts and show. You know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
accusing
Like,
you of being a serial
um,
killer.
okay, good. I just want that to be clear. I am not a serial killer.
Uh,
It's just fascinating learning about them. Um, but yeah, so I think we kind of talked about this like when we were recording the like our live reactions is like trying to figure out okay, is he a psychopath or a
mm-hmm.
sociopath because in my not expert opinion, um he seemed to be showing empathy and like emotions towards Dr. Strauss and the people and again the like the sheer desire to want to stop killing that doesn't seem very serial killer-y to me, which is why I was like I must wonder if one of the points of the show was to just highlight like a serial killer is a serial killer, like they're not going to change,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to say I agree or disagree with. I'm just saying I think that might be one of the points of the show. You know, I don't know because again, it just I feel like he was not a traditional quote traditional serial killer. I feel like.
Right. Listen, like I I kind of do hold the opinion that like they're not gonna change because if they show remorse, it's always like after
Mm-hmm.
they get caught. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah, or yeah, the remorse is because they get caught.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's why I feel like it was weird that he's like remorseful as the thing was going on. But um what I was gonna say was like the whole it's like it's just very out of place, I guess. Um I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I feel like if they wanted to make that point, like really drive it home, like the serial killer wouldn't have been seeking it, I guess, just to make it more realistic, but I don't know. Cuz it's like it's weird. It's like kind of like like an oxymoron, I guess, for a
Mhm.
serial killer to seek therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because usually, again, usually there's not the guilt surrounding it or the wherewithal that like what they're doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, something else about serial killers, I mean, not all of them, but the big kind of sensationalized ones that have the, documentaries about them and whatever. Usually when they get caught, they want to talk about their crimes and what they did. Whereas with Sam, there was like a sense of shame, which
Yeah.
is why so it's again, yeah, it's just very different why I said like quote like non-traditional serial killer.
Right. Um, my thing was like they can say like they're never gonna change, but isn't it like I feel like the reason that they're never gonna change is they don't have the desire to. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but the fact that Sam was like showing his desire like throughout the whole thing to like want to be a better person and like overcome his psychoticness, I guess, psychosis, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I feel like that in itself is kind of what makes it an oxymoron that in the end he wasn't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they spent all this time like trying to like he spent all the time trying to like seek out therapy and like trying to get better and everything.
Mhm.
And maybe it is like people like don't change no matter how hard they try, and maybe that's the point too. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Like I definitely think
Oh,
there's like
did you
I
have
was gonna
anything
say I
else?
definitely
Oh.
think there's like a element of like human nature to it. I guess.
Mhm. Yeah. This has kind of got me thinking about like um I don't know, this might be a stretch. So
Okay.
I'm going to try to connect the dots in my head. But so like about people who do murder but aren't like psychopaths or sociopaths. So like hitmen or uh people in the military who have to, kill other people, but like they aren't like psychopaths or sociopaths. And they, feel regret and remorse and whatever. But I feel like there I still feel like there's a distinct difference between them
Yeah, there
And
is like
Sam and like traditional and quote traditional
right.
serial killers. Because like with Sam, he's still like making excuses for it and thinking there's like a reason. Like, he always tries to justify his killing, whereas like a hitman, right, it's their job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I don't well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm arguing this correctly. Do you kind of understand where I'm going with
I
this?
kind of do, but like I guess like in the case of a hitman or like the military or whatever, like they're like conditioned to it, you know, like you become desensitized to it after a while, I
Yeah.
would imagine, like
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
which I don't know. I guess maybe that's like the point of it too, like the whole his father thing, but I don't like that cop out either. Like
Oh, yeah, like his father's the reason that he does
yeah.
this.
Like that would be I
Yeah.
know you haven't watched the Dahmer thing on Netflix yet, or have you? I don't know.
Mhm.
Have you?
I haven't
Okay.
yet. No, not yet.
Um
No, not yet.
well, anyway, that was like one of my big complaints with that show too, is they like try to put like the blame on the father a lot, and it was like
Yeah.
it that just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. Like,
No, I agree with you. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
well, I was just gonna say like, no matter the circumstances that you're like put in, it's not like it's never other people's fault for like what you do. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, I think that kind of sympathy grab to like blame it on the parents or the upbringing. A lot of documentaries or people who cover like true crime and people, serial killers and people who do, these terrible things. I mean, it does seem that there is a common pattern. Like they have troubled past. Their parents were abusive or were absent or whatever. It's like your trauma does not excuse you from murdering people.
yeah, exactly.
um, and yeah, it's not an excuse because you still murdered
Mm-hmm.
people, and that is that's wrong. That's not okay. And certainly I'm sure your childhood and your upbringing played a huge role into that, but again, that doesn't excuse you from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like It's definitely harder, but because like
Hmm.
it's pretty easy for me to not go McMurdering people. You know what I mean?
Well, right. And it's
Yeah.
also pretty easy for a lot of other people who have had,
Yeah.
an upbringing just like Sam did, and still not McMurder people.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
it can be done.
Yeah. I uh I suppose that was a bad example because I don't really have trauma to unpack like that. But
Hmm.
I don't know.
Um, the other thing I want to talk about was his mom and like the role his mother played in kind of all of this.
Okay.
Speaking of like parents and
Yep.
whatever. But before we do that, did you have any likes or dislikes that you wanted to that you had?
Nah, I think that's about it. Those were some tangents though, but it's okay.
Yeah, we did kind of tangent, but I think we definitely did have very similar thoughts though.
Yeah.
But I was just curious on kind of like what I mean, since we were kind of talking about like family and upbringing and like, his dad being the abusive one, but his mom not really doing anything to prevent it, and
Hmm.
then in adulthood basically enabling him to kill
Yeah.
is kind of it's interesting. And her the entire time being like, I'm not a bad person and whatever, but it's like you're enabling your murderous son.
Yeah. We hate an enabler.
Yeah.
That dynamic was super strange though. I I don't know. Like I guess like sure she loves her son or whatever. And like the husband or his father, whatever, like probably abused her too, I would imagine.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
So maybe she
Yeah.
has like her own trauma to unpack from that too. But again, like it doesn't
Mhm.
excuse it or anything. Like
Right. Right. Like that also doesn't excuse her from enabling her son.
yeah. I mean like
So,
I don't know. She seemed kind of scared at some point. Like maybe she was doing it out of fear, I guess. Which
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely, I mean, that would probably scare me too.
Yeah, that's true. If somebody I knew was having a McMurdering spree, like I don't know if I would want to stop them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I would want to stop
But
them. Like
yeah.
I would want to stop them, but I don't know if I would like want to be the one to stop them. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I kind of got all my thoughts out there.
I think we need to
Did you?
discuss the Jewish thing probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I would you say it's
So
like allegorical? Not really.
I guess I would just there was a lot of like Jewish themes that kept coming up, and like their Jewish identity was a kind of a big
Mm-hmm.
part of Dr. Strauss's conflict, like with his family and his son converting to Orthodox Judaism, and like Dr. Strauss and his wife not being very happy with that. Um, yeah, and yeah, all of like the kind of the concentration camp, like
Mm-hmm.
nightmares, flashback type things.
Well,
I
that's
guess
kind of why I
I
said it might be like allegorical, like specifically like the thing of him like
mm-hmm,
digging the hole, and then
yeah.
well, initially he got stuck in the own grave, but then Sam like moved the body so kids could find it, which again like weird, weird like sympathy from a serial killer.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's very confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I guess I don't totally know what to think of, like kind of the, again, I don't know what we want to call allegory images theme of like his Jewish identity. I mean,
I don't think I know enough about like Judaism to say too. Like I don't think I would have picked up on all the themes if they were there. You know what I mean?
yeah, or like if it wasn't so explicit.
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
that's just kind of my thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it also could just be I'm kind of thinking of like after the movie Us by Jordan Peele came out, or before it did, he did an interview where he was like, this isn't like a political thing. It's literally just about it's a thriller, scary movie centered on a black family. I mean, this could be maybe a similar thing too, where it's like a thriller show centered around a Jewish family and like
Yeah.
the victim being Jewish. Um,
Listen, I'm
so
I'm like I'm all for just accepting like that kind of explanation, I guess, but they like really hammered it home. Like it was in every
they did,
episode.
yeah. Yeah.
It was like way too big a part of everything to like
Yeah, so it probably did mean something. Yeah, and I guess yeah. I feel like yeah, I'm not qualified to analyze
I'm not
that
either.
because I just don't know much about
Yeah.
it, and yeah, I feel kind of ignorant.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, like I would not know anything if it like slapped me in the front of the face, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so
I mean, definitely, yeah, it definitely was. I mean, that was a huge part of his identity and his coping, and the kind of the struggle with his children.
mhm.
Um, but I also think those struggles are not what's it called? Like those are struggles that non-Jewish families would also experience. I mean, regardless of religion, having your child kind of leave the religion that they were grown up with and go to something else that you think is extreme or whatever. I mean, that can create conflict, and then obviously like one of, the mother having a terminal illness obviously creates, conflict and things like that. So I think like it wasn't like the conflicts that we saw were centered around like this Jewish family because they were Jewish, but also like it's not just because they were Jewish that they had these conflicts. Like I think all families could have had these type of conflicts,
Yeah,
if that
exactly.
makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I think it was kind of strange how hard the show like hammered it home. They really like hammered it home, and then they started beating us over the head with it. They literally killed the
Yeah.
horse, beat the dead horse, and then beat us with the dead horse.
And again, for seemingly not like a huge like
Yeah,
point or purpose, or maybe we're just being bozos and not like understanding what
I
that
mean
is,
that
which
could
very
be
well
too.
could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's literally like an episode called Auschwitz too. Like
Mhm.
that's what kind of I don't know. That's what kind of like tripped it off
Yeah.
for me too. Like and like the Kaddish or whatever throughout the whole thing
Mhm.
too. Like
Yeah, that like Sam literally went out of his way to go get a printer to print it off, and then killed his boss, and then tried to say the
yeah,
Kaddish, and then didn't. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's more to it, and we just aren't picking it up. Or again, maybe it's as simple as the producers just wanted a show centered around a Jewish family.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be it. But overall, I mean, I really, really enjoyed this show. And even though I would be upset if there's a second season, I definitely will watch it
yeah.
if there is one. And I mean, just praise for Steve Carell. I mean, I mean, honestly, all of the cast was just so good
The cast was
at
good. I agree.
just,
I
yeah, it was
do.
just good.
I do think it
So,
was a little bit strange seeing Steve Carell in like a serious role like this. Like he did
yeah.
well, and it wasn't like too distracting, but it was a little bit distracting at times. But
Yeah, it's hard to not think of him as Michael Scott.
yeah,
And then like we would watch the show, and then later that night I'd go on Instagram and then like send you like
the Office
office
clips. Yep.
bloopers, and it's yeah, it's like so it's like, oh wow.
I've been thinking I need to do an
But
Office
yeah.
rewatch. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, I'd be down for that
Yeah,
anytime. I love The Office.
I do too.
If it's on, like, I'm over at my parents' house and there's just cable, like they have cable
Yeah.
still. I'll like The Office is usually always on, and so I just
hmm
like watch The Office.
My sister got like the whole box set on Blu-ray last year with
Wow,
the deleted scenes included.
that's
So
awesome.
my
Does she actually watch them on
no,
DVD?
she watches them on Peacock. I don't know if she's even opened the DVDs to be honest, but
Well, they'll probably be worth something someday.
yeah, and not if I come over here and watch them all first.
True. Yeah, if you crack open the
Yeah.
DVDs.
All right.
Um.
Do we want to give like
Yeah,
a
I
rating
guess
of the season maybe?
sure.
A star
Out of what?
rating.
Like 5?
Star rating.
A star, right? Okay, so if you were to give this show a star rating out of 5, what would you give it?
I would probably go for like a 3.5. It
Okay.
was.
I was gonna go
I
4.
was thinking about 4, but
Um,
I don't think it was quite a 4. Honestly, I think there was too much. I think there was too much stuff that didn't get wrapped up with the whole like other storyline. The ending was kind of meh. Um,
mhm,
I think all of the. I mean, it was still a really good show, and it was very close to being a 4 star, in my opinion.
mhm.
But I just like, I think there's too much going wrong with it to give it the full 4. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. No, I I'm satisfied with the ending other than the potential setup for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm satisfied with everything else. Even though yeah, I agree like there's still a lot of kind of strings that didn't like loose ends that didn't get tied up. But generally speaking, yeah, I think it was enjoyable. I think it was thought provoking. And I want, we would be caught up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch the next one. So I think
Yeah.
just like the entertainment value is very high.
I
So,
was always excited to watch it. I enjoyed the show. I just like objectively
mhm.
speaking, I think there was just like a little bit too much wrong with it to give it the full 4.
I
Even though
gotcha.
like
Yeah, I
I enjoyed
gotcha.
it like a 4. Uh
I think you're analyzing this how I analyze books, which is interesting.
yeah. I mean, I kind of
But
analyze books like that too. Like I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
Not so much
that's true.
like not so much like you do like on the educational value or whatever, like the like learning, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like in terms of like how well written and everything it is, I like take that into account.
hmm Okay, well, I guess so. This was just kind of our closing thoughts after seeing the entire season 1 of The
Mhm.
Patient. So these are just kind of our thoughts. So if you haven't seen our other videos, go watch those of us actually live reacting to the episodes. And I guess we will just see you in our next episode
Yep.
of whatever we do next.
Yeah, it's to be determined the next show we're watching.
TBD. Yep. But stay tuned, cool cats.